All right, man.
I'm putting in a help desk ticket right now.
All right. I think we are rocking. Uh, somebody, hang on, man. I'm going to have to see this. Hold
Yep,
on.
you're live.
Okay. All right, man. Whew. Elijah, hang on. Let me bring you in for a second. Man, that's pretty
Okay,
amazing. Okay. You've got your, bro.
I'm in.
Yeah. Let's make sure everybody can hear you and that they can
I
hear you.
can't see you though, Sam.
You can't see me. I know. You're going to have to just assume that I'm sitting here chilling with my hat.
Dang.
All
Wait,
right.
so your video's not allowed to be on?
No, my video's on. It's on the live stream. Should be on the live
He means
stream.
on
For, can,
Discord.
can it be on for Discord? For Discord?
I can't. No, man.
It might not be able to do two different applications at the same time. Some
Yeah.
people who do this will have two different webcams that they use.
Yep. Yeah, it can't.
Sam, what I would do, the only thing I would change is for your Discord, I think it's the Alt button, and then you can drag it so it only captures Elijah, and then adjust it. But you don't have to do that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't see your face.
That's all right, dude. You can see my smiling.
Just go on to the stream and then
But then
turn
it
the audio off.
lags.
That's all right.
Sure.
All right, listen, man. Let's get started. Let me just start a few things here. Because, people have questions. Jeff, you're just going to have to fill us in on what the questions are. Or you can, Elijah. You can see the questions, right?
Uh, can you send me the? Do you want me to go to the slide
No, you just,
deck? Can
no, no,
you
no.
link
Well,
that
that you can do that, but also pull questions off of the chat.
off of the stream?
Anyway, listen, man.
Okay.
So here's the deal. I'm gonna switch cameras and then I'll be back, but it won't matter to you. So yesterday sorry about all the technology stuff, man. Jeff had an update to his computer and a couple weeks ago, and he was up here, and it just threw everything into disarray. And so his computer can't handle very simple applications, which is bizarre in this world. But so anyway, we're running into stuff, and then we thought we could fix it, and then by the time we couldn't fix it, so here we are. Anyway, we did a second class on immigration, and we're actually going to do a third one, at least part of a third one. We have these two students their job is to come up with some kind of policy, but also I just have a few more things that I want to say and look at to really complicate things more, because it is such a very complicated issue, and we're doing more than touch the surface of it, given what probably most people do or how they would think about it, unless you're like in a real serious engagement. But we're still scratching the surface at some level. So anyway, Elijah, yesterday we talked about the economy, and just like economics, like how many workers do you need? We talked about H1B visas, and this woman,
Hmm.
the young woman, our student who volunteered, her parents had H1B visas, and a lot of family members. They're from Hyderabad, although she was born in the U.S. And just
Hmm.
how important those visas have been in making the world, the tech revolution. It's so funny because I asked her, like, Silicon Valley, like, what do people look like in Silicon Valley? And she was a little bit confused, and I'm like, well, did they look? Because she had been to Silicon Valley, she has family there working in the tech industry. She's from India, by the way. And I said, do they look more like you or more like me? And she's like, there are more people that look like me. And I'm like, it's just like the whole tech revolution is built with significant contributions from tech people around the world, mostly men. I mean, just people that are into STEM, computers and engineering and so on. I say mostly men only because there's just a disproportionate number of men who have studied in those STEM areas, computers engineering, computer engineering, and so on, in the past 40 years, although it's changing a lot. Things are very much changing a lot, but they've really been dominated. And most, men who come from India or people who come from India or China to work in that sector in my lifetime have been men. So anyway, that's what I mean by mostly men.
Hmm.
So it was cool. It was a cool conversation. We got to really have an understanding of, or just look at the complexities of it. You know, and how many unskilled people do you want? Lesser skilled people, right? People who can work, you know,
What were the answers on that when there was,
Go ahead, man.
or what did they come up with? What did they come up with when they
We
were thinking
just,
about like how many unskilled workers do you want? How many skilled workers do you
yeah,
want? Well,
we just, whatever it was, we didn't so much come up with answers to the questions, but just,
answers, yeah,
just
right,
understanding how important those questions are and how the answers are not effing obvious, man. They are not obvious.
right. Hmm.
And when you bring lesser skill, when you get people in and they undercut the pay, you know what I mean? Like H1B visas. One of the reasons companies use them is because, well, I can get this guy from Chennai, India, to take this computer, the software development job for, you know, $70,000, where I'd have to pay this American guy 110, let's say. But you know, I can get the H1B visa, you know, a couple $1,000s, and then I can hire this guy for 30,000 or 40,000 less. So that also, you know, labor gets undercut in that way. So it's like,
Wow, wow, wow. And then you guys spoke on the impacts of like you know, how these businesses are incentivized
yeah,
essentially to.
yeah, yeah,
That's so interesting. Yeah.
yeah.
And so most people would want, like most business owners or those that are hiring would want this, right? Because then they can just continue to cut costs. Or
Well,
is it,
yeah. Well, I mean, yes and no, right? I mean, you know, I think we have sometimes we we generalize to business. You know, it's like it's profit at all costs. Yeah, there are plenty of people in business who, it's not just about profit, it's also about people. And so anyway, that's
right?
why I just balked what you said there just a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
um,
It,
hang on,
yeah,
buddy.
I guess I was wondering because the narrative always doesn't feel about like it's about people, or I guess the narrative with it always being about like capitalism or
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
um
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
but that I hear that.
Yeah. So anyway, thankfully I just fixed the camera here. Anyway,
Yeah,
it
because
was
you were smaller.
yeah, it was smaller. I made it bigger.
Nice.
Man, it takes a lot for some like this 65-year-old mind, man. I love technology and I love learning stuff, you know, like, you know, like when I was drumming, I was the sound guy. I was always the guy even though I'm on stage and I'm drumming, I always wanted to be behind the soundboard, you know, like,
No way.
yeah, I just want to be in charge of that. Even now in class, I always say this, but I want to be in the back room where people are directing and stuff, you know, get somebody else to do what I'm doing. I want to be back there. I want to sit in front of that array of screens and decide, you know, like what camera angle gets put up on the stream, you know, stuff like that. So,
You and Niche can trade
dude,
places.
totally. I know. I've been trying to get her to come out front and teach a few classes, take over. Anyway, listen, man. Unfortunately, I can't share a lot of stuff because I just can't. And Stephen can say some of this in the in the chat, but Stephen sent me this piece about this party. You know the it's called. Wait, hang on, man. Come on. Hang on, let me just see this. Shoot. Nah, I'm not going to be able to bring it up. Anyway, just a new party in the UK, man. It's just all about. I think Stephen will put it in the chat.
I have chosen to speak to you today from the farm.
Oh,
because
wait.
places like this represent
hang on.
what proper Britain is about.
Hold
Hard work,
on.
responsibility, effort, duty,
on.
stewardship.
Here we go. Hold on, my friend. Hang on, I'm going to just do a couple things. Okay, I'm going to fix a couple things up. Hold on, I gotta just jump in.
Mm.
Sorry, everybody, we're in it again because I had this whole thing set up. Okay, there it is. I needed to get Steven on there. Okay. There we go. And there we go. All right. Whew, man. Okay, so anyway, Restore Britain party. There it is. Sorry, everyone. Man, it's so complicated. You get it. I think what I was saying earlier is, God, I'm happy that I really enjoy learning technology, or I would be so incredibly frustrated. But the Restore Britain, we're seeing this all over the world, right? So Elijah, here's the idea.
Right.
The U.S. has had 150 plus years, 200 years really, to accommodate to this.
I need to get my charger real quick, Sam. I'm sorry.
To accommodate
Give me
to
a
this
sec.
idea. So we've had a lot of time in the U.S. to acclimate ourselves to the idea that the land here, people from all over the world, first all over Europe, but then secondly, people from around the world, we're going to populate this land, okay? And for good and bad, all the bad that goes with it also, right? With indigenous peoples who were here, with people who were enslaved out of Africa and so on, right? But it has been a lifetime of, centuries of multiculturalism in the sense of people from different cultures coming to this land mass. And over time, it's a culture that's sort of built on that. And then we see, this kind of a serious uptick, which is I talked about last week, this serious uptick all over the United States in people who are foreign born, such large numbers, and which is fine in the U.S. We're a multicultural nation, so that's just what you're going to get, what we're going to get. We always had it. And, there are ways in which, white people from all these different cultures, they sort of over time, over a number of decades, they sort of come together as with white people, but they're really completely separate cultures. And for most of the 20th century, or the first part of the 20th century anyway, we referred to all the different white races, not just white groups and white cultures, but white races. The Polish race, the Romanian race, the Italian race, and so on. But by the time we hit this new major uptick in foreign-born peoples in the United States, we've had centuries of dealing with this, but other nations have not, man. So Korea has gone from 0.5% of foreign-born people, meaning that 99.5% of people living in Korea have ancestors who were from that same peninsula. But you have the UK, and you have Austria, and you have Switzerland, and you have the Scandinavian countries, and just so many countries that like the UK is it's if you go to London, it's incredibly multicultural. But you get outside of London into smaller towns in the countryside, it's not at all. And so, not just London, but larger cities, right? Anyway, so many places have experienced this shift in culture, and then being asked to take on a multicultural way of seeing the world and way of living in the world, something that we've been doing for a long, long time in the United States. But Mexicans have not done that, right? It's not. That's not what Mexico is, right? Guatemala, same thing, right? So it's just different. So anyway, I was just kind of talking about the struggles of that, but Steven sent this information about this new party, man, and this party to save Britain, restore Britain, and man, they just want to get rid of immigrants. I don't know which immigrants they want to get rid of, but a whole bunch of them, and just return Britain, return the country to just England, but I suppose Scotland and Wales and so on, right? Return it to the place that it was for at some point in time. I don't know when that point in time was, but before this big push in immigration a few decades past. And but like you can't, man. The problem with that, so you get that, right, Elijah? It's like this political party is just like kick them all out and get back, restore Britain to what Britain was, right? Which
Yep.
is like, okay, I get that, right? But like,
Yep.
I get when you get this change that happens so fast, man. It's really
Like react
Yeah, it's hard. It's easier for
reaction to discomfort.
totally,
Right.
man. Yeah, I
And
think
more than, not to like water it down by saying discomfort. It's like definitely more than that. But
it's more
I
than
guess
that. But I'm going to give people. It starts with discomfort. Okay, it at least starts with that. And we can move on to the stronger feelings, and for many people, it's a lot stronger feelings, and it's just out and out racism, and so on and so forth. But it begins with discomfort, man, and the origin is when you got to change your culture in a way that this happens very quickly. Like you need time, man. That's what happened with these trans issues. People suddenly were like thinking about transgender and transsexuality and this in between in a way. And people, man, I have that suddenly that conversation was like front and center of intellectual and social life and psychological life, family life, in the United States. And like,
right.
man,
There's I just thought this question was relevant, but Vulture 1066 says, is it too late to save Britain? Which is just interesting based on what you're saying. It's like, what does saving even mean? I guess is like a
what's saving?
You know what I mean?
Yeah, put it in quotes. Is it too late to save Britain? Yeah, it's too late. It's already, look, the birth rate's down. The birth rate is higher among all the immigrants. So it's same in the United States. So the birth rate is in the Hispanic population in the U.S. The birth rate's also down, but it's higher than other groups. And so you need that. You need the workers. You need the people. You need it's too late, man.
What like, so when you hear that's funny. When you hear save, like what do you hear? Like save it economically or save it in terms of sustaining the origins that were always there, or like in terms of
save? No, how about restore? Because they use restore on the thing.
Got
They
it.
use restore as their party name. For me, it's I suppose it's economic, it's cultural, it's primarily cultural, I think, but because people also see the culture, the new people are what bring the economy down, right? So it's fundamentally it's culture. If people who were coming in were exactly like the people who were there, they were just from a different country. So, for example, Colombians and Venezuelans, or the Finns and the Danes, or, like the Swedes and the Finns, or the Norwegians and the Swedes. I mean, they have their own little like things that they don't like about each other. They're essentially, they're so close to being the same culture that, and I'm not saying that as just a dumb American, but like it's not the same as like the Swedes and the Austrians. You know what I mean? Like that's not the same, but it's just some more similarity. So if you're just dealing with that, even though I know if a million Swedes were trying to enter into Norway, Norwegians would be like, what the hell, But nonetheless, I think culture is a big part of it. Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Just
Like I could think of the Emirates, right? The Saudis and the Emirates and the Kuwaitis and the Qataris, they're all different countries, but it's a hell of a lot easier to have a Saudi integrate or assimilate in the UAE than it is to have someone from the Philippines, man. How about that? Yeah.
There's a few cool questions here. So
all right, go ahead, man.
So it's like Vulture. Yeah, Vulture was like, how do you balance immigration with culture? And then, Cali Girls SNS. Cali Girls NS was like, what are we really talking about when we say culture?
Yeah.
But, and then
that's
social.
A really good question. That's very cool. Hey, let me just take the first one. Yeah, how do you balance immigration with culture? Yeah, that's the issue, man. That's what we're endlessly fighting about. Yeah. It's like we want immigrants to come in and we want them to be part of our culture, and yet it's the same thing. I meet Americans all over the world who have migrated elsewhere, emigrated to another country. I meet Americans all the time. Well, you're going to meet one in class next Tuesday, actually. But meet Americans
I think
all
we
over,
talked about
man,
this.
and they have a hard time, man. They have a
Yeah.
yeah, you have a tough time. You got to learn the language. You got to learn certain customs. And we're going to talk about some customs that this particular American's had to learn, man. It's not easy. So anyway, that's the question.
Do we
Okay,
need to
well,
have
go ahead, man.
I was just wondering if we need to have a different view on culture, because like, because culture and tradition are different, right? Or are they the same? Because like tradition feels more static, and culture was culture more dynamic and progressive, or
You know,
and like tradition seems like a
yeah,
static term where it's like it's permanent,
that's a
um,
really,
or
culture is like the catch-all term, right? I mean, culture is everything. Culture is the air that we breathe as these oxygenated beings. It's just everything, man. It's the way I feel. It's it's beyond my language and how I dress and how I just greet other people. It's how I feel walking down the street in the U.S.
right.
compared to Japan or Manila
Mm,
or something. It's
mm,
so many things, man. It's all the
and so
traditions wrapped up. And man, it's just it's everything. Yeah.
and so we're just like changing that. People are concerned with changing that ultimate, like the water, because you're talking.
Yeah.
We've been talking about the water so much, like the fish in the water, and
Yeah.
so ultimately talking about like just changing the
Dude, there you
chemistry
go.
of that
Yeah, there you
water.
go. Yeah.
Like,
Take the fish out of the
okay.
water, put it in a different water with a little bit different hue to it. Or yeah, or pH level. I don't know, like something, but enough that
Right,
it's like put it in different water somewhere. It's the same
right.
water, it's culture, right? But it's like, but it's different. Like the
It's like a
seafood,
fish that's used to fresh water, and you put them in salt water, and they're
maybe,
like,
or yeah,
oh,
yeah,
this
you can see
is
that. That's a really good analogy. Yep. And it could be just like, hey, the fish is used to swimming in one area of the ocean, take it to another one,
right. Going from
Yeah.
the surface to the depths, or
Yeah.
like
Yeah, the coral and
interesting.
everything that's there, all the coral, all the stuff, like in the Caribbean, and then take it to an area where it's just all rocks, and sand.
Right.
Anyway, the point being, it's cool. It's
Yeah.
cool. It's cool to think about, and it's cool that, I mean, it's just complicated, and if you're willing to be in a complicated space, then yeah, you know.
Yeah, this question might be progressing our conversation. Why do you think there's so little discussion about the effects on citizens, their rights, their financial situation, and way of life? I think it's the reason we have immigration laws. So they're saying, I guess he's saying that there's little commentary on or discussion on the effects of citizens, or when it comes to,
I
or maybe
I
I
think
don't
that
know.
I think that's actually a really interesting question. Like we don't, huh? Yeah, I don't know. I think because what happens is we just listen to the loudest voices. So we do have commentary about its effect on citizens, but it's really just people's random ideas. We don't ever sit down and talk to people. I'll give you an example. When Lori and I, or not, we don't ever sit down and talk to people, but we just, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe
Hmm.
we do. You have to just look for it. So here's the example. Lori and I, when we went to the Southwest, and we were just talking to everybody we met about, they'd ask, what are you guys doing down here? And we said, well, we're here just to study immigration and how it's impacting life here. And then we'd be like, how's it impacting your life? And then we started getting stories, just story upon story upon story, And I'm like, wow, these are
Right.
really interesting stories. And everybody had lots and lots of different things to say.
Mm.
Yeah, so it's cool. I think
This is.
that there is that conversation, but you got to look for it. Yeah.
Mm. would you say it's making me wonder, is there like a drowning due to like the narrative of like anti-immigration or like those that are like more conservative on the idea and are leaning more towards like we need to get these people out or
Yeah.
we need to have stronger laws versus those that are more embracing of the idea? Do you think like those two sides are kind of drowning out that ability to have that discussion about what are the
Yeah.
true impacts? Like those, because I don't know, you hear a lot of like people are just like complaining about how they don't want immigration, or there's just like this narrative and it maybe
Yeah.
drowns out. Like, let's actually talk about the people that just want to discuss the impact that they're
Well,
feeling from it
the biggest thing
or
with
and not
Trump,
getting.
yeah, the biggest
Yeah, go
problem
ahead.
is, yeah, that's a really good question. Thanks, man. The biggest problem are the blowhard politicians, man. The biggest problem is having a political system in which people retain, obtain, and then later retain positions of power based on votes. Okay?
Right.
Not truth, not the best possible thing, just based on votes. And so, look, in the end, I go to Mr. Smith goes to Washington, right? I go to Washington, or I go to my local. We go here down to the borough council, or we go to the county council or state, whatever, with all the best intention in the world. Like, I want to get involved in making things happen, right? And so, by chance you get elected. Like, fuck, all right, probably like Trump the first time in 2016. They never thought he was going to win, and he won. That's why he didn't have anybody. They asked him, like, who are you going to have in your cabinet? They never thought about it, man. Like, it was just like, your cabinet is laid out, man. When you're like, I've talked to a number of people who are like part of putting cabinets together for people that were like, they might have won, certain seats, right? But Trump, they never thought they were going to win. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. But it does say something really important. Okay, so anyway, you win, right? And there you are. Now, the first thing you got to do, the very first thing, is start raising money to get reelected, because you're not going to. Nobody. I don't know if I've ever met anybody except people who really hated it, who were like won, and then they're like, yeah, I'm just in for 1 2-year term or 1 4-year term, or a senator 1 6-year term, and then I'm out, man. I don't want to do this longer than 2 years or 4 years. So that means you got to go promise people things. You got to go get votes. You know what I mean? And that means you can't lift up the people over there on the other side, your opponents, because your opponent is going to be in that other party. You're in the red one, they're in the blue one, or you're in the blue one, they're in the red one. So like, you got to be like, you can't allow them to win anything. So you have to endlessly oppose them. And if you do have a unanimous agreement somehow, you have to make it inconsequential. You have to make sure that your opponent is not able to be elevated by the fact that, hey, these two parties came together and we solved this problem of school lunches among poor young people in the U.S. Like, God, man, we came together, we grasped hands, and we solved it. Well, it's a little tiny thing like that, but like peace in the Middle East, or addressing Iran, or immigration. These are, man, the other parties, someone's going to get a win, and it better be you, because if not, you're not going to get reelected. And that's the problem, man. They win and they get reelected. And so
Sort of like reflect back and ground to the story, the question that I had. Are you saying like, because politicians that are voting, that can't immediately, once they're voted in, are then trying to get funding for another campaign to get voted in, they're in the binary of the other voice, rather than being able to do what you and Lori were doing,
what you do,
and actually
what you do every day at your work at World in Conversation. You're building
to get the
alliances with your opponent. You're teaching students how to build solutions, come to solutions with their opponents. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
And that's the breakdown of our entire system, man. The whole system is based on conflict and trying to put the other person, not solving problems. It's like you're solving it's not fundamentally solving problems. You're solving problems only if you can uplift yourself. You're going to solve the problem.
Right.
Your opponent, hey, man, hey, Republicans, that's a really awesome idea that you have right there about how to think about issue X, right? You know, this taxation issue. It's, like, oh, man, that's actually a really good problem. How your idea to solve Social Security, we got to replenish it. We're in deep shit if we don't. So, your solution is good. Let's go. We support that, You can do that.
Okay, so like the personal stories matter less because there's no contribution, because that doesn't really contribute to the agenda.
Exactly, because the agenda is win or lose. And the personal stories would actually complexify. The people making the decision are just like hammering away at you, just like, my opponent's an asshole, but I'm not. Like, my opponents, they're a bunch of effing idiots, right? Because how evil they are. Because it's none of that, and I have the right thing, and that's where we get lost. All the airspace, like all of the oxygen in the room, gets taken up by that. And okay, so here we are. And if you sit through those last 2 classes in Social 19, or you sit through the one tomorrow, you know that the solution is going to take things to support documented immigrants, that don't support them, that reject them, dude, you're going to have to change, or this bad thing's going to happen that you don't want to have happen, or this group of undocumented people, but not this group over here, or whatever it is, it's going to be a very complex solution. Yeah. And of course it is, because everybody, man, every single person, if I snap my fingers right like that and every single undocumented person in the U.S. was gone tomorrow, we'd be deeply screwed, man. We would be deeply screwed. Man.
Right.
Yeah. And not first off, you'd be deeply screwed just in the very short term, because you're going to scramble around to figure out how you're going to get people to do all these jobs. And then you're going to be very deeply screwed in the longer term, So.
Right. And I guess I can transition this question into a question that was also asked, how you're saying if immigrants were gone, like how deeply screwed we'd be.
Yeah.
It was Chambray 24 was like, how is it that we forget that Spanish is culturally a part of American language just as much as French and English?
Yeah.
It's a little question is kind of similar to, I tried to bridge it. It's talking more about the language, but I guess we could broaden it more than just language.
Hang on. I want to respond to a couple of people. Just Digital Simulation said, so I said, we'd be screwed, and pay would go up immediately. Yeah, definitely, because there are a lot of jobs that people would be needing to do that you're going to have to pay someone to do it, man. You know what I mean? So, and if if you pay enough money, I can get people to go out and pick onions in the hot summertime in the Florida sun, man. We can find plenty of people to do that if you pay enough, right? So it's a matter of, but how much money do I want to pay for onions? You know what I mean? I'm pretty happy when the price goes to $1.99 a pound. I'm like, oh man, that's a little stiff. Imagine in $10.99 a pound. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't want to do that. So, yeah. Lacanian 94. Yes, it's a live stream. We are live, man. Anyway, so I'm not like this is the thing, pay's gonna go up. Oh shit, yeah, but if pay goes up, oh my god, everything's gonna be more expensive. So the restaurant where you eat, and everybody in the back kitchen area, they're all undocumented, and okay, so now we're paying $30 an hour, or $35 an hour. Fair wages, livable wages to everybody, and all these. Okay, well, your price of your food, your meal just doubled. There you go. Because we have livable wages. That's fine, and it's it doesn't double. No, it doesn't, because there are 12 to 14 million undocumented people didn't leave the U.S. overnight. But if they leave the U.S. overnight, it's going to be a hell of a lot more expensive, man. Anyway, yeah, so that's kind of cool. Yeah.
I saw
And
that
I'm
Sea Devil.
And by the way,
said
yeah,
that
Sea Devil arguing for slave labor. No, it's not. It's not that. It's just the practicality of it. You just. It's just what it is. You know, that's the nature. Like I'm not arguing for one thing or another. I'm saying if you do this, you're screwed. And if you do this, you're screwed. Like everything you do, if you go all the way in one direction, all the way in another direction, you got problems. So this is like, it's just the complicated nature of the solutions. And by the way, someone said the thing about the slow democracy, you know, like it's good, you know, that's one of the benefits. Yeah, it was Jim Bogimpo. It's a slow democracy. Yeah, I know neither party can make it sweeping changes, right? And it's like kind of a slow trickle, but it's also you're stuck almost never being able to make the best decisions, the wisest decisions that need to be made. And we're probably coming up, Elijah, by the way. You can hop back in with another question. I'll be done as soon as I say this. But we're coming up to a time where we better have some really wise people, man, because we got two things coming at us like a freight train. And one is AI and the other one is climate change. The changes that are coming with the changes to our ecosystem that are coming because the climate is changing. And we can pretend in 1,000 different ways that it's not, but it is. The data are very clear that it is. And so, like, okay, what are we going to do about that? You know, I don't know how fast it's going to happen, but it's happening. And it's just like AI. That's coming, man. These are two freight trains, and they're coming down the tracks, man. And you can't, and they're like those bullet trains. I was watching a video the other day with a bullet train. I think it was in Japan, but it might have been China. And people were filming. They had their camera out, and the bullet train was coming. It was coming at like 340 kilometers an hour, right? And the train, it went like this. It was like, vroom. And it just, you couldn't even see it. It went by so fast. I'm like, that's how fast.
What?
That's how fast AI is coming at us, man. It's gonna hit. By the time it hits us, you're not even gonna know. You're gonna like, damn.
Wow.
All right, dude. What else do we have?
We'll see.
I did want to say, and I linked it, but there's the chocolate video, and if you go to our YouTube homepage and go to like the first playlist, one of the videos is about modern day slavery, and I think it's kind of, when I saw Sea Devil's comment, my first thought was that this weekend is Thon, and when Thon happens, people are doing something for a really good cause, but then we also have unintended consequences like slave labor to produce the shirts that all the people wear because the shirts are cheap. And so when we have to have the conversation about our products and our produce and whatever else in our country, and we're thinking about immigration and we're thinking about cost analysis, like it's very, very complicated because we can say, well, we just should pay Americans $20 an hour to do it. And then we do have to realize then the cost of the strawberries or whatever is going to go up, but then that is then offset by higher wages for Americans. So like it's super complicated.
Yeah,
I think that's what the students, I think that's what Logan has said like 3 or 4 times in the last 2 classes. Is every time he talks, he's like, it's just getting more difficult to answer these questions because it's so interconnected.
Dude, completely, man. Hey, by the way, I want to just say something to Chambray24, who wrote, "Your dad was a victim of modern day slavery." It's an interesting story. He came to the U.S. at 15 and ended up in sugarcane farm working for free. Yeah, man, this is a huge issue. I used to show a video in my upper level inequalities class on slavery in the sugarcane industry, both in the U.S. and the Dominican Republic, and right in Florida, man. Like really wild. Yeah, damn.
I remember that class.
Yeah. By the way, that's Ava from Wisconsin. So you know.
Very cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought this was a cool question and also kind of fun. What's the question about? Why is my thing not? Here we go. Wait. Here we go. All right, bet. It said, do you think BlackRock's State Street, Berkshire,
Oh,
and such will allow these smart people that we elect make the changes?
I don't think. I think actually people in those kind of financial positions. I think if you put them all in a room, the BlackRock folks and Berkshire Hathaway, all of that, right? The people who are really running who are controlling the finance, pulling the strings at that level, right? My guess is if we put them all in a room and said, "Listen, what do you all think here?" Right?
All
My
these
guess,
people with power in the
yeah, my
room.
my guess is they probably would make much better decisions than the politicians who are busy, who are fighting for their lives at the national level anyway, fighting for their re-elections, their political careers. That would be my guess, and it sort of goes with this idea. I remember Lori's brother had this a long time ago. He said, "You know what we need, man? We just need a benevolent king." He was reading about kings in like Europe and so on and so forth. He's like, "You just need a benevolent king, the one who just really is smart, like really smart, brilliant, benevolent king. And you just raise your hand and you're like, do that, do this, do this, do that. You listen to different multiple perspectives and you just say, let's do that." There's no way
I love that.
too, like right now, it's Social Security. Like we're just like, oh my God, we're not replenishing it. We don't know how to replenish it. Well, we have all these options, but every one we do, it becomes a political football because all these different sides are just like, they want to make sure that when they finally decide how they're going to replenish Social Security, which they're going to, they're never going to let it run out. They want to, each side has to make sure that they look good in it. They can't, it's like, come on, man. Or they somehow magically get together behind closed doors and they're like, okay, we're going to come up with this thing together and we're both going to agree that we both were equal parties in creating this solution to the problem. But that seems to rarely happen because for whatever reason, I don't know why, but
Hmm.
Okay, so
Hmm.
that would be my Scott Adams said we need a benevolent dictator. Yeah, basically. Maybe we do. I mean, I'm thinking decision making, right? So, yeah.
Do you think that you and Laurie would consider being like a benevolent king and queen?
Dude, you shouldn't ask that question when I'm drinking something. Wait, did the stream stop, by the way?
The stream's lagged. I can't really,
Yeah. AZ is asking if the stream stopped. I hope it is. Are we okay? We're still on?
I see it.
All
Yeah,
right,
it's
okay,
still going.
okay. All right. Anyway, yeah, I don't know. Then yeah, fuck. Wait, did you? Well, there was another question. I think you said, right? Wasn't there?
Um, well, there was one that I got to, but let me see. Well, just to respond, Chambray responded to you. Said, "Yeah, my dad still has the scars on his hands." If you unless you read that, picking sugarcane shreds or picking, yeah, something in his hands. Still, he was the man that celebrated America despite his origins and hardships.
It's really you have to, you have to have a lot of. First off, I have respect. I actually think that the vast majority of people who go into politics for the right, because they want to serve other people. They think that they just want to participate in solving problems and making things work. And when I say that, I think from the presidency of the nation on down to local school boards. There's millions of people who participate at that level, and I think the vast majority are doing it to participate, and that's a good thing. And the unfortunate thing is you get in and you have to think about being reelected, so that's an issue. Too bad we don't have public funds. Just like fund it. fund the elections and give everyone an equal amount of money and say, listen, use that money to go out and, depending on what the position you're running for, right? But use that money to go out and do your best to convince other people that they should vote for you. And here we go. And we as a society would say, you know what? We really want the smartest and the best people in these positions. We really, really do. And so therefore, we want to come up with a publicly funded system of elections so that we can actually truly find out who the best people are. Let's say you want to decide what class you want your kids professor you want your kids to learn from. So like I stream my classes, then some other sociologist streams their classes, and you sort of watch and decide like, okay, it's going to be this knucklehead or this knucklehead. And so like, I like this knucklehead. And so that would be the same with politicians. You know what I mean? So
Right.
But whatever, we don't do that. And so that's where we're at. We're chasing our tails in a way, which is unfortunate. And so we're going to do the best we can.
And we don't do that because there's too much at stake for them, for those that are already in power.
Yeah,
Like,
it's just kind of how the system runs. And like, yeah.
right.
Now,
It's just the
parties
system.
run the show,
my
man.
gosh.
The political parties are billion-dollar operations. So it's like the parties are really keeping things going. It's just billions and billions of dollars, man. So anyway, bro. Yeah.
It's a student sent me this really cool. I wonder if you know who this author is.
Mark Line, 1967 says, I served on our local school board. It was hideous. I know. When my wife was 21, she got elected to her local school board in New Jersey. And so the first few years, it was a 3-year appointment. I think she only made it 2.5 years. But yeah, it was sounding pretty brutal, man. Yeah. I mean, but that's why it's a great service, So Mark Line, 1967, thank you for your service. Like nobody don't do that. Like if Mark Line say I served in the Army, the U.S. Army, and from 1980 to 1984, people will be typing in the chat, "Thank you for your service, Mark Line, 1967." But Mark Line served on the school board. That was even damn, man. That's like going to war. Like oh my God, yeah. So thank you for your service.
What you were saying about how that's just like the system is made up. Have you heard about this guy named Emmanuel Wallerstein?
Yeah,
A world
dude.
systems
I wanted to-
analysis.
Yeah. He's the guy I wanted to study with up at Binghamton. That's where Sarah
Really?
is, by the way. Yeah.
No way.
Yeah, when I was working on my master's degree, I discovered him because I started dabbling into political economic theory, and I wanted to go that route completely for my PhD, right? Development.
Wow.
Yeah, so I
He's
applied up to
so
Binghamton.
interesting.
Yeah, dude, he was like a major figure in the field, and I think I got in, but I didn't get any funding, so I couldn't.
Oh, dang. Wait, so is he still there? Like that's where he's at, or
But
he's just
Stephen, hang on, really
presence
fast.
in the-
Stephen Kirkpatrick.
Go
No,
ahead.
I don't think so, man.
Yep.
I don't think we should have a national curriculum, but I don't know how to regulate that. But I don't think there should be a national. Well, in a way, we kind of almost have one, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know how to regulate it, but I don't. Thank God, I don't have to worry about that. But anyway, go ahead, bro. Sorry.
No, yeah, it was just interesting because one of the students sent this over to me and just his idea of like poor periphery relationships
Yeah.
and like and how he was talking about what did he say? This the idea that like the perfect system isn't ideal, because if it's
Yeah.
perfect, then distribution is kind of equal across places, and in order for profits to happen, that needs to be almost unequal in power
Yeah.
instead of a perfect market. And
Yeah.
just that idea was, and he doesn't even have like an emotional positioning around like
Yeah, that's right.
the role players within
Yeah.
the system. He
Yeah.
just kind of views them
Yeah.
as actors in the system and just how their relationship to each other, and that was just it's so fascinating.
It's it's this idea that I try to, I don't spend very much time in it in class anymore. Once in a while, I'll just refer to it. But, you know, when you look around at the other day I was looking at sub-Saharan and West African countries, right? And I was thinking, God, it's something I've thought many times because my specialty area was Latin America first and secondly Africa, right? So obviously I've been thinking about this. the economic development, in other words. But I'm thinking like, man, it's so obvious how and why sub-Saharan Africa is so poor, you know, relative to, say, Europe, right? Western Europe.
Mm.
And how Eastern Europe is so
Right.
poor relative to Western Europe, or was anyway. Now things
Right.
are changing, right? Same in Latin America and the United States. Like you just see the ways, you know, one country moves out front and then they're able to set the terms, or one group of countries, they're able to set the terms for the other countries behind them. So like, you know, when the United States was industrializing, we didn't have anybody. We didn't have China or Southeast Asia or Latin America that was imposing on us the rules of how we were going to industrialize. You know, we just industrialized. So we were making the rules as we went along. And same with Western Europe. But Latin America, when it came time for them to industrialize, well, we had already set the terms because we now had our military in Latin America and we had business in place and our multinational corporations were going down there and we were buying off government leaders and making sure they were going to do things that we wanted them to do. So we set the terms for all the Latin American countries. And like that never happened to us.
This is
man.
exactly.
This is Wallerstein. This is his theory, right? It's not a theory. It's just his vision for things. Yeah.
Right. Like what he's saying is we move into markets that essentially like don't have, and forgive my language, I'm still trying to wrap my head around it, but just like moving into markets that don't have power or like
Yeah.
markets that aren't
No, there
distributed
were no
evenly,
markets
so
there.
then you can
No.
monopolize the market.
Yeah,
Oh,
no.
okay.
There's no market there. We created markets. Like whoever the first
Right,
people
okay.
out of the gates, they create the market, right? So it's kind of sort of like the first horse out of the gate. If you can imagine a racetrack being way more narrow, and I don't know how to say it. That's a bad analogy, but whatever. We're the first ones out of the gate. So it's like, yeah, we don't have anybody there like holding us down, you know?
Right.
This is the idea with affirmative action, right? So there's this just great cartoon about this, right? You know, you hold people down you don't give them an equal shot, right? For, you know, generations, you know? And then you finally, they're like, okay, we're going to take some of the obstacles away. But we take the obstacles away, but the other people are so far out front that it's like, well, we took the obstacles away and we're like, hey, why don't you catch up? The obstacle isn't there because, well, we're trying to catch up, but you're still way out there. You're way in front, man. So this is the nations. And so what we don't see, what my students don't see and what we don't see is you study the nefarious things that we did, for example, in South America, right? Or Indonesia, or wherever we want to go. Yeah. Africa, sub-Saharan Africa. Yeah. And still do, right? Yeah. Anyway, that's my thing.
Yeah.
And that sounds like, so that's Wallerstein, right? It's not even political. It's just, this is what is. You know what I mean? It's like telling kids, well, why can't you have equal power with your parents? Well, because they were here. They set the terms. They built the house. They bought the house. They did everything. And now we're moving up in the house. We're in it. But like, we don't have equal power to them. We got to try to go out and get our own house. But imagine how difficult that is, you know, without some help from your parents.
Right. I'm trying to find parts in the article that are relating to what you were saying, but there's one part where he says, the priority of endless accumulation of capital brings demand for the continuing expansion of all relevant frontiers. There is constant demand for additional resources.
Yeah. Dude, that's like, okay, that's kind of basic Marxism too. And it's the basic Marxism, not basic, I don't mean basic, like, but that's a key component of Marxism, which is a key component of an analysis that, of course, is true, man. The only other person that ever said it more clearly is probably Adam Smith, the one of the fathers of capitalism, right? So, it's just a given, man. It's sociological given. It's crazy, man. Just Digital Simulation said most people have no idea what we did. It was crazy. I know. We don't know, and we don't play. We don't. Yeah, Professor Wolf, man. Yeah, I had a buddy that studied with Wolf. Yeah, we don't see that, and that's why Yesterday, Elijah, I walked around the room before class started, and I was just talking to students, kind of one by one as I walked around. I'm like,
love
by
that.
the end of today, I want you to be more confused than you ever were about anything related to immigration. Like, that's going to mean that you're smarter. Okay, you're smarter, man. Be more confused. If you're not confused, you're not smarter. If you're not confused, you weren't paying attention. There it is.
Right.
Like, you're fucking sleeping in class. You're not. Oh, I dropped an F-bomb there. Damn. Oh my God.
Hey, come on, dude.
Yeah, damn. You were sleeping. If you're not confused, that means you were sleeping, man. Like, come on. Yeah, it's so crazy.
You're sleeping while you're asleep.
Yeah, it's wild. Yeah. Yeah. It's wild.
And he mentions Noam Chomsky too.
Yeah, well, Chomsky was like Chomsky's forte. Chomsky was like a famous linguist who discovered how human beings. He didn't discover. He created a theory that just took over the field for how human beings learn language, and just like it was just boom, man. And I've learned several times what it was and how how his shifted how we think, but I forget all the time because I can't. The whole thing doesn't capture my attention. But anyway, Chomsky's forte was looking at U.S. foreign policy and from a very critical lens, a very left lens. But the irony is that Chomsky's perspective on foreign policy was the same as people who were on the far right. Chomsky's on the far left, but it was the same as people who were on the far right, meaning that basically people who were paying attention agreed on what was going on. It's just that some people thought, well, if the U.S. doesn't dominate Brazil, somebody else will, so we might as well just dominate them. Whereas Chomsky was like, no, man, that's not an excuse to do that. But other people were like, that's what's going to happen. And they're probably right, somebody else will get in there and do it. Like in the Cold War, fighting for Angola, like certain African states. The Soviet Union Cuba sent fighters over to Angola. It was like, they were really trying to push a revolution in Africa. Yeah. Dude, I love riffing like this, man. I never get to talk. I don't realize like what's in my brain. You know what I mean? It's really a lot of fun. I gotta get it
I'm just
out.
gonna have to bring some stuff. Yeah. Bring some more stuff for you to riff off of.
Yeah. I'm disappointed. I don't know how Chomsky showed up in the Epstein files. Hey, there's a photo of him on the plane on a private jet with Epstein. I think that.
Oh, I didn't know he showed up.
Yeah, he didn't go to the island. Chomsky's not like that's not it. But he didn't do his due diligence to be like, who is this Epstein guy? And I don't know what he got from it. There's no indication that he got a lot of money from Epstein or anything. And I wouldn't think that would matter. I don't think Chomsky really lived for money at all.
Oh, it's crazy to
They
hear
were
the
best friends. Yeah.
The connections that.
But what Epstein reached out to Chomsky, apparently initially the one thing is because he wanted Chomsky to explain the things that Chomsky was seeing about foreign capital and about capital moves around the world and how things happen. And Chomsky's like, all right, I'll explain it to you. I don't know what their relationship was, but that seems to be kind of it.
Right. So you just surrounded himself with the intellectual elite.
Yeah, there were a lot of curious lifelong learner. Yeah, there seemed to be. I looked myself up in there. I didn't see me. Or so it's from 19.
You weren't.
No. I mean, I wouldn't be in it. It would be like, let's see, a lot of
No,
people
no,
end
no,
up in
yeah,
it. It'd be like someone wrote Epstein a letter, an email, said, hey, listen, you should check out this lecture by this guy, Sam Richards at Penn State. This didn't happen, but this would be the kind of thing.
Right.
You should check out this
Yo,
talk by
that'd
this
be
guy,
crazy.
Elijah Rhodes at Penn State. It's really interesting. Here's the link. Boom, now you're in the Epstein files. And you're like, wait, what? What did I do? You know, so there are a lot of people in there
So
like
that's
that.
how it goes.
Yeah.
And that's how like things get misinterpreted. Like, oh, what was that person a part of?
Yeah, what were
You
they
know,
part of? That was like
because-
how Jon Stewart got in there a lot, you know, like, hey, what's this Jon Stewart episode? Yeah. So, you know,
Interesting.
yeah.
Yeah.
No, Tristan Mike. No. The files aren't a big nothing burger, man. The files are really we are discovering a lot of things. There's millions of files. You got to sort through the wheat, sort the wheat from the chaff. There are some things that are in there that are like, holy shit, man. That's like, oh my gosh. There's a lot of stuff in those files, but some of them you just throw out, you know. And so anybody can search the files.
Yeah.
You know how to search the files, bro?
No, I don't. But how do you
Someone
do that?
put up.
Yeah, how do you
Someone
search
put in the
file?
chat how you search the file.
I was laughing with Joy yesterday because, like we were talking about something within the files that was totally irrelevant. Talking about like Selena Gomez and how supposedly she's a clone now, and like she ended up in the files, and Joy was like trying to find all the news on Selena Gomez being a clone, which is like she dated Justin Bieber.
that's
She's a
funny.
singer. Like, what importance does this have? Like, this is so pointless.
Oh, that's really
But, yeah, it's just hilarious.
Dude, my buddy Jeff, he used to work at Penn State. Not this Jeff here, a different buddy. He just sent me this. That he said, "Hey man, Ted Nugent follows you." Right? And like, oh my
Ted
god,
Nugent.
Ted Nugent, man. I used to, I used to call him Teddy Feedback. We used to call him Teddy Feedback because his concerts were so loud, man. It was just like nonstop feedback. So, and I
that's
actually
dope.
went, and I'll tell you this, one time I went to a Teddy Feedback the only time I went, it was like when Cat Scratch Fever was out, probably in like 1975, 74, 75.
Wow.
Do you know that song, Cat Scratch Fever?
Probably not.
Dude, you gotta,
Is it
hang
a
on,
rock song?
just write it down and listen to it when we finish. All right?
I heard that.
It's really a good
Cat Scratch Fever.
Teddy
Gotcha.
Feedback. Anyway, so he says, so I go, and we have our our party accoutrements that every 15-year-old would have. You know what I mean? And we had a bottle of rum because back then you could get into with rum, and everybody had
Right.
weed. You couldn't even. There's so much. You didn't even have to bring your own weed because it's like the whole place was like a hot box. You just go in and you can't.
That must have been sick. Yeah,
It was
yeah.
crazy times, man. I was telling the story of how, as a little kid, I went to my first concert. I think I was 13, and these guys would walk around with these big trench coats. I don't know if I can do this. They'd have their trench coat, and they would open it up like this. They're like, hey, boy, you need something? And they'd open and the trench coat had these little pockets in them, and it was filled with bottles of pills and bags of weed and everything you could imagine, man. It was in there. Probably syringes and God knows what, man. Yeah, and they were just they were selling, man, and they'd be walking around. It was an arena. It was like the Bryce Jordan Center, but it only seated about 10,000. So imagine walking around the outside of that, and crazy, man. Anyway, so we go to see Teddy Feedback. Wait, do you have a question? Give me a question, man.
No, yeah, I was just gonna say, and at the time, were trench coats like, because that's like kind of now that thing is like kind of a meme in a way. But like at the
Yeah.
time,
Yeah.
that was like inconspicuous
Yeah,
still.
dude,
Or like,
totally. With all these little pockets on the inside, man. It was really, and imagine being like, I'm 13, 14 years old. And I never seen any of this at all. Let's say 14. I think I would just turn 14 when I went to my first concert. And like,
right.
man, it was just holy. Like, so scary. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, yeah, marijuana. Okay, that's good. Beer. But damn. Anyway,
Bunch of
man.
pills, like
Pills,
wow,
dude.
like,
You want these pills? Want these pills? We're like, nah, man. No, we're all right. So anyway, we go to Teddy Feedback, and he was no, he wasn't opening for someone. He was the main act. Tickets were like $4.50. It wasn't very much because he wasn't really a big draw, but he was. We drank the rum. I passed out, man. I passed out. I got, the whole I passed out through a Teddy Feedback concert, and I was only about 50 feet from the speakers. And my buddies woke me up at the end of the concert. I was like laying in the seat on the floor in the seats, we were sitting up, and like, because I had never drank rum before. I didn't know, man. I'm just like drinking it.
right.
Oh my god! And they wake me up. They're hitting me on the head. They wake me up. I'm the only human being alive, bro. This might be in the Guinness Book of World Records, who slept through a Teddy Feedback Nugent concert, man.
Oh, and they were crazy.
They were so loud. It was so loud, man. I think probably the hearing damage, the tinnitus that I have, and the hearing damage is probably from that very concert alone. Yeah.
Whoa, that is wild. Okay, I'm gonna have to look those concerts up because I have no idea what you're envisioning.
Yeah. Yeah, it's wild.
That's hilarious. You toned out of that. You were like, chilling.
Anyway, Teddy. Yeah, he's from Michigan, upper Michigan, I think.
Oh my gosh, this guy looks wild too.
Yeah, he was wild. Look up.
In one of his pictures, he looks crazy.
Is it an old picture or a new picture?
I wish I could share it or something. I'll just screenshot it and send it to you on Slack.
All right, man. Yeah, let me see it. Anyway, that's life, man. That's we all got to have a claim to fame for something, man. Yeah.
This guy right
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely had alcohol poisoning for sure, but I don't remember vomit. No, I think I did vomit. Yeah. Oh, okay. Unfortunately. Let me see.
Just saying that Slack photo.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, dude. That's him, man. Hang on. Teddy. Yeah. That was from that's the cat scratch fever. See in the upper right hand corner? Cat scratch fever. And you can see it. That's the album.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, he looked wild.
Dude,
Definitely
we all
rock
have
star
our
kind of
war
vibe.
stories, man. Yeah. Yeah. Wait, hang on. That's not. Wait, is that Weird Al? Wait, someone said that's Weird Al.
Oh shoot, maybe
Is it
that's
Weird
my
Al?
fault then. No, I mean I typed in Teddy Nugent and it said Ted Nugent, Cat Scratch Fever official audio.
All right. Okay. Yeah. All right. I still have that. Random American One still has the album. Oh, AI. Oh, not Al. Oh, yeah. All right. AI.
Oh,
No, I think
really?
that's the album cover, man. That's the official album cover.
Yeah, because this is 10 years ago.
Yeah, I'm looking at it. Yeah, I had that album, man, and I think I remember that's what it looked like. Oh,
Yeah,
God.
this is on his profile too.
Damn, life is really it's a
Dang,
lot.
he looks like
It's if you
he commentates now on YouTube.
Yeah, he does, man. He became a serious gun rights person, like really, really serious.
Oh,
And
got it.
over the past like 20 years or so, I think he became really hardcore supporter of Trump and, anti-democrat, anti-liberal, anti-woke, that kind of stuff, right? I think that he really made that. He's
You should have him on the
mad.
podcast.
Dude, it'd be into. Oh man, I don't know how his mind could work, man. I can't imagine all the things that dude went through. But yeah, but,
That'd be cool.
yeah. God. All right,
You could
listen,
be like,
man.
dude, I passed out.
Yeah, I passed out at your show. You owe me. You owe me 2 hours worth of playing.
Yeah. Give me my $4.
Yeah. All right,
That's
listen,
funny.
man. Maybe we did get started late, but Pink Floyd. I never saw Pink Floyd in concert. Yeah, never saw them. Huh. Always wanted to. Feel like I missed out on not seeing Floyd. I did see Queens, and I did see Queen. I mean, yeah, that was awesome. The Bohemian Rhapsody tour. In that same arena, by the way. It was before Queen really, really took off. Maybe it was Night of the Opera. I don't remember. Okay, but listen, man. We're going to blow out. And, oh, yeah, has always been, never drank, smoked, or, you're right, man. I think you are absolutely right. I think I remember that he didn't do drugs. I remember that, which is why, that image is so interesting. Yeah.
Oh, wow. He was just off life.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, listen, I'm going to be out. We're going to be out. So we will be on tomorrow, man. I don't know. Class should be interesting tomorrow. It'll be good. We'll do some
Oh,
cool
yeah.
things. And we will, and then we have a cool class next Tuesday. By the way, really cool class. We have some guests coming in. It's going to be cool. Yeah. Looking forward to it. All right, man.
Sweet.
We'll see you all. Have a rocking and rolling rest of the day or evening, depending on where you're at. Okay. Have a great sleep.
Sweet.
Be well.